This week will be the last week I read nonfiction until 2025. I am reading Wild at Heart by John Eldredge. This is a book that my coach recommended to me. He talks very highly about it. One of my best friends read it 2 weeks ago, and he said it brought tears to his eyes and that it is life-changing. All I know about it is that this book has some controversy surrounding it. I know one of the cartels in Mexico made this book required reading, and that's an interesting red flag, possibly. That makes me more likely and more compelled and more interested in reading it. But I wonder why this book is so controversial in some parts of the world. And I look forward to seeing why. I'm excited for this week. I'm excited to get nonfiction out of the way until the end of the year. Welcome to the Reading Blog. Reading Wild at Heart is therapeutic in a good way and a bad way. I don't have enough time because I have a lot of things on the schedule for this week. I don't have enough time to read more than one book, but I am reading a few chapters of this manga called I Am a Hero. It is a zombie apocalypse manga, and it follows an aspiring manga artist whose life has stagnated. He is unhappy, he is unsatisfied, he has few friends, he's not fulfilled in his relationship, and his world starts to fall apart. Zombies start attacking everything. The world is changing. But he has a special power. He is special in this new world because, unlike most of the people in his native Japan, he has one thing that allows him to be a hero. He has a gun. I'm not going to talk too much about this. I'll save that for next week and for later because there are 12 omnibus volumes, and I plan on finishing the next 11 before the end of the year. But yes, very fitting with a lot of the themes of Wild at Heart. Wednesday. Wild at Heart just blew my mind. I read a passage that says, femininity can never bestow masculinity. And I was like, that's pretty profound. Let's see where the author's going with this. And then he went on to blow my mind. The author goes on to state how a mother will name her son. A mother will give her son titles and nicknames like my love, my little man, my little boyfriend, my cutie. Names that are in relation to the mother, because moms want to protect their sons. Moms love their children, they support their children, they want to keep them safe. But men, young boys, before they grow up, they need to do wild things. They need to find themselves. And one of the key steps in a boy becoming a man is when another man, usually the father or just a male role model, tells that young man who he is. Because a young man's not going to know who he is until a masculine figure bestows that masculinity onto the young man. And I remember this moment for me. It was 2009, end of May, early June. I just graduated 8th grade. And at my private school, all the 8th graders go on a like American history trip, like a patriotism trip, where you go visit all these historical sites on the East Coast. And I remember that was the first time in my life I was ever around like a male figure for several days in a row. And there was this man named Kurt Gentry. He was the father of one of my classmates. Awesome dude. You know, he was very confident and very intelligent. He was a good father. All of his kids loved him, spoke very highly of him. But I remember, like in the middle of this trip, I overheard him talking to some of the women chaperones. And one of them was my aunt. And he was saying like, oh, I'm watching that Jordan kid. He's got a good head on his shoulders. I'm watching his routine. He's got good instincts. He knows what he's doing. He's industrious. He's hardworking. He's a good kid. And that changed my life. It sounds dramatic. It sounds ridiculous. But that was the first time I was 13 or 4. No, I just turned 14 because I turned 14 on that trip. I just turned 14. And that was the first time a man in my life said something positive about me. That was the first time another man told me, like, kind of foreshadowed the man I was going to become. And he didn't even say this to me. I just heard it, off to the side. And it changed my life. It completely changed my demeanor. It completely changed the way I viewed myself. And people, like, all the other chaperones noticed something about me towards the end. They're like, Jordan seems more confident. He's, like, acting more like a leader. He's being more respectful. And I finally kind of had an idea of who I was. And I held on to that compliment, those kind words that a man said about me For years. I still think about those words. It still makes me emotional. It was a really important, monumental moment in my life. And it's so silly. Well, not silly, but it seems silly when I realize that that was probably just a week for him. He was just saying something to another chaperone that he would probably, I almost could guarantee he does not remember, but it changed my life. I remember him saying those positive words about me. I remember him showing me how to iron my white shirts because I was at a private school. We had a uniform. He would show me how to remove the yellow stains out of the collar with a wet rag because you didn't have access to a washing machine while we were on our trip. But yeah, Kurt Gentry changed my life in 2009. And he's a big part of who I became. Happy Halloween, y'all. I hope you are enjoying it. I don't really celebrate Halloween. Halloween's a very somber day for me. Luckily, I went to a trunk or treat with the family last week, and that was very good. But October 31st is a day that will always put me in a somber mood, and I think it will always make me sad until my final days. Because 2 years ago, one of my best friends took his life on Halloween. And so this holiday is ruined for me. But I'm reading Wild at Heart, and I'm thinking about my friend. And Wild at Heart, it keeps hitting me with emotional gut punches. And I'm thinking, and I'm pondering, and like the author's saying things where I'm like, oh, that's so true. And I'm relating it to my friend. I'm relating it to his final days. And one of the things the author states in Wild at Heart is that men carry around with them a great wound. We all go through this experience. Something hurts us in our past. Maybe it's our father, maybe it's our upbringing, maybe someone bullied us, but we're not sure who we are until we find a way to mend this wound, find a way to have this weakness, this great hurt, finding a way to heal it, to overcome it, to grow into the man we have to become. And a lot of men are striving towards things. They have this wound at the center of their soul. And they're like, okay, maybe a good job will make me feel whole. Maybe a woman will make me feel whole. Maybe going to this school, accomplishing this goal, striving towards this thing in the future. When I accomplish that, when I achieve that, when I obtain that, it'll make me whole. This wound will be healed. I'll be a man, finally. And think of my friend. He was a tattoo artist. He was really good. I don't get tattoos because I'm scared of needles, but he was a really good tattoo artist, and he was learning. And I remember the day before he passed, he posted on social media about how he finally obtained this certification that he was trying to get for several years. And he was so happy. And we're all saying congratulations. It's a good day. And we're sending memes to each other. And the future's looking up. And the next day he was gone. And I always think about that. I think I'll always think about that. Because what should have been a new chapter in his life, things should have been looking up. I think once he finally achieved that goal, that thing he was looking forward to for so long, and that didn't heal whatever was going wrong with him, I think that was kind of the final straw. And I think about that. And I think about the sense of sadness and dread and anxiety I felt when I finally got into the UFC, because when I was 15, I knew who I was. Like I said earlier, I knew what I was trying to accomplish. I knew what my goals were. I wasn't just waiting for this destination, this goal in the future to reach, to bring me happiness. I was in love with the journey. I was in love with the process. And for 10 years, I was loving the day-to-day. And then I got to my goal. And I remember I thought I would feel different after I got to the UFC. I thought I'd feel different after I achieved my dream. And I didn't. And it was a little sad. But I wasn't grinding every day for 7 or 8 years, not enjoying it. I wasn't just suffering until a happy moment in my future. I loved this journey. And then I achieved it, and I realized the goal wasn't important to me. The process and the journey was. It's like the Miley Cyrus song. It's all about the climb, I think about that when I think about my friend who left us 2 years ago. And I think about how a lot of men just, there's something wrong. There's like this sense of desperation, quiet desperation, a hopelessness, a great darkness, a monster, a monkey on your back, whatever metaphor. I can't put it into words. But, and it's women too, not just men, but a lot of men have this great hurt. They're trying to slay this dragon that's within themselves, and they don't know how. And I don't know how. That's something I'm trying to like get some perspective, get some wisdom on from Wild at Heart, because this book is hitting me with emotional gut punch after emotional gut punch, and I'm reading it during this very tumultuous, depressing time of the year for me. And I think this is the perfect time to read this book. So yes, happy Halloween, y'all. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you're enjoying time with your family, you're drinking out with friends, you're having a good time. And yeah, I'm gonna, ponder about some things and get back to reading. Sometimes you read a nonfiction book, and it's good. It's therapeutic. You're learning things about yourself. A lot of things in your past are coming into place, and you hate it. Sometimes I don't want to read something and be in a therapeutic mindset. Sometimes I just want to kind of look at my past in a good, rose-tinted type of way. But I'm reading Wild at Heart, and the author just keeps describing things from my life, and it's very frustrating. He talks a lot about how if a young man does not know who he is, because he didn't have a father figure or a male figure tell him who he is, then he's going to go try to find who he is by finding a woman. Because, and this doesn't work because femininity cannot bestow masculinity. So he dates a woman, and they become the center of his circle. And when they are the center of his circle, he's not going to find himself. He's going to use them as a way to delay finding themselves, as opposed to growing to be the man that can give a woman everything you have to offer. You just make a woman settle for you. And it reminded me a lot because when I was younger, I was a serial in a relationship type person. I have a relationship, and I think it started off because my first girlfriend, after she dumped me, I was 17, and I was heartbroken, and I was crying. My mom was like, "You got 24 hours to date another person." So I got a date within 24 hours of my first relationship ending, and that was just a big old chain of events that led to me becoming, and I think adopting, all these possibly toxic coping mechanisms when it came to dating. It wasn't always less than 24 hours, but that kind of set the tone. I was always trying to find myself, trying to find value in myself by dating people. I dated some wonderful people. I dated some people who were not very wonderful. I would dare say perhaps mentally ill people. And
maybe don't put the mentally ill part.
I said this at the tone.
Because the problem wasn't the mentally ill.
Yeah. I dated a lot of people. A lot of really good people. A lot of people that inspired me, helped me grow. But I also dated a lot of people who had a negative effect on me as a whole. Perhaps more trauma than growth. And then I met my wife. And I really feel like I met my wife at the perfect time because I feel like I kind of knew who I was more as a man. I'd grown into myself. I learned a lot of things from the previous relationships. And I knew, like, that was the first time I dated somebody where I was ready to be the man that I knew I was. I knew what I had to offer. I knew what I was going to try to provide. I knew what I was trying to do in my life. And wasn't anchored down by all these insecurities. I wasn't anchored down by this self-hate. And I finally moved past it. When you date people that kind of make you focus more on your self-hate, you kind of realize that they're not the right person for you. And I found my wife, and she loves me. I love myself. I love her. And, we're each other's helpmate. So that's the good part. So I've gotten to that point in the story, but I'm pretty sure I'm going to read this book and see how that's not enough. It's not just enough to have a spouse that's supportive and loves you, but we'll see where the author's going. But yes, I did try to find myself. I did try to find my self-worth in relationships and those types of connections. And it didn't work. Who would have thought? Saturday. So I'm going to my friend's bachelor party. I'm the best man. I organized it. I have fun events planned. And I'm also at the part of Wild at Heart where it talks about how Every man desires his band of brothers, his fellow warriors, the people he shares a purpose with, he shares a life with, he shares struggles and victories with. And I found that at a young age. A lot of the friends I'm going to see today, we've been friends for 15 years or more. And that's a very rare thing. I am very blessed. A lot of people lose their friends after high school, after college, after they get married, after they have kids. And I'm lucky. Almost all of my friends that I was talking to every day, my freshman year of high school, we are still in contact. We still talk all the time. And we're all still up to date with what's going on in each other's lives. So today, I'm hanging out with my tribe. I didn't have a lot of positive male influences growing up that were older than me. But I had people that were like my found family, my brothers, and I looked up to them. Their values rubbed off on me. Their strength rubbed off on me. And I learned a lot about how to be a man from my friends. We all have different backgrounds. We all have different struggles. But without them, like, sharpening me, helping me grow, I wouldn't be who I am today. So yes, this week, this was the perfect time to read Wild at Heart. I'm not going to read too much of it today, I imagine. Tomorrow I'm going to have to get that done as well as I Am a Hero. But yeah, this week, lots of emotions and lots of fun times, lots of sad thoughts. But I'm happy. Sunday. I did it. I finished Wild at Heart. It was slow going. It was hard. It was difficult. It was a very trying, introspective read for me. I'm thinking and revisiting a lot of things about my past, about my life, mistakes I made, people that were a great influence on me, people that hurt me. It was a very compelling 5-star read, but I did not enjoy it. I think it was a perfect time to read this book in terms of effect on me. Talking about my friend that I lost 2 years ago, going to my best friend's bachelor party, and spending time with my friends that I've been friends with for 15 years. And just seeing full circle that though there are some things that I missed growing up, like positive male figures to look up to, I did not miss out on finding my tribe, about finding my band of brothers, and finding people that I shared a purpose and I shared values and I shared passion with. So yes, no one's life is perfect, my life especially, but I've never once looked back at my life and thought that I was missing out on something. I think I've been blessed with everything that I needed, everything that I could have ever wanted, and even the parts of my life that are suboptimal. I think it made me the person I'm proud to see when I look in the mirror. So yes, I'm a flawed individual. I'm a wild individual at times, with weaknesses, but there's also some really powerful strengths there. And I'm proud of all of it. I'm proud of the whole mess you see before you. And I'm proud that I got Wild at Heart out of the way. I loved it, but I am done with nonfiction until the end of the year. It is all escapism and fun times until 2025. I'm finally going to kick it into gear, start focusing on The Stand. And yeah. Oh, I also finished the first volume of I Am a Hero, and I think that also fit in very well with the reads of this week. So this week I read one volume of manga, one work of nonfiction, only 180 pages, but I read a lot of chapters of this manga. So, this week was okay. This week was essentially just therapy for me. But considering 2 of these days were lost to my melancholy on Halloween and the bachelor party of one of my best friends, I think I got a lot done, and I'm happy with it. This week was okay. Next week will be even better. I look forward to seeing what the stories have in store for me. And then next week there's an election. There's events every week for the rest of the year, essentially. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll talk to you guys next time.